what I fear most is ageism. It is appalling. Ageism is what really struck me once I retired and I realized I'm 78 years old and people treat me like I have no brain, that I have no courage, that I have no energy. And so I'm determined to not just be a model, I want to be a role model of what a 78-year-old looks like, acts like, dresses like, and I want to enjoy my life.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Andreea and I'm Alexa Dumitru. And this is a live again podcast, a podcast where attorneys and other professionals meet to discuss real life challenges and how our decisions shaped our journeys. Today we have with us a wonderful guest, Elizabeth Katz, who is a senior lifestyle model.
Correct.
And I cannot wait to have the conversation with you. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much. This is so much fun and very rewarding.
Most of our guests actually are through my mom, but I was the one who met you and was so we had our podcast last week was about my Amtrak show. And you were one of the models who came to the casting.
Right.
And I was just so taken aback. You told us a little bit about your story during the casting, and I was just so taken aback. Unfortunately, I couldn't use you as a model because my clothing was for men.
Right.
But I was so captivated, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use you as a model, but can we have you on your podcast, on our podcast? So that's how we met. And I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much. It's really special, especially because it's co-generational. And usually you only have one age group, but the fact that it's mother and daughter makes it very unique. So I applaud you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Alexa, as you know, is a fashion designer, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine last week. We were talking about models, and she told me that she believes that models have a very short window of becoming somebody in this industry. And of course, I was thinking of you. And I wanted to ask you, I know a little bit about yourself. I read online. So you had a very successful life as a professional. Why and how did you get to model?
So most of my career has been, I want to say, a combination of sheer luck, determination, hard work. My last career, I was publisher of a medical journal, Neurology, with a subspecialty that I launched in rare diseases and gene therapy. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a writer. I'm a very hard-working salesperson who does my research. And so when you were talking about reinvention, and part of it was because my younger sister had just passed away. I had been attending a lot of master plan for aging town halls because I was retired now and I had free time. And Governor Hochul did research and passed a law in 2022 called the Master Plan for Aging. And basically, by the year 2030, 5 years from now, 1 out of every 4 people will be 60 and above, with a lot of discretionary income, with a lot of energy, curiosity, wanting to be part of community, wanting to dress up and wear pearls. And so I said, you know what? I don't want to just stay and just be old. I want to partake of everything. I want to enjoy my life. I joined Lincoln Center. I joined my synagogue. I joined all the museums. And I walk 5 to 6 miles a day. I'm very active, I'm very curious, but I do my research. And what I found out, and this is kind of unsettling because everybody says, aren't you afraid of anti Semitism, being a child of Holocaust survivors and what's going on in Israel? No. What I fear most is ageism. It is appalling. Ageism is what really struck me once I retired and I realized I'm 78 years old. And people treat me like I have no brain, that I have no courage, that I have no energy. And so I'm determined to not just be a model, I want to be a role model of what a 78-year-old looks like, acts like, dresses like, and I want to enjoy my life. So that's my story.
Well, the brief of it,
The
because
brief.
you mentioned a little part of it that
Yes. So if you would ask me, what gave you this strength? What gave you this chutzpah, so to say, the balls to think that you could do this? It's being a child of Holocaust survivors. It's what I saw my parents, and we were in an orphanage when we came to America because my mother couldn't take care of a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So we were in an orphanage, and she would come and visit us until my father got a job. And they didn't speak English. They didn't go on vacation. They didn't buy clothes. They saved every penny because in Yiddish there's a saying, Hoste, Giste, Biste. If you have and you give, then you are. She did not want to be dependent on the children. They worked very hard. My sisters and I helped them. They owned a lot of real estate. They worked all day, and at night they were the janitors. And so I saw what they went through, and it was a chance encounter with a psychiatrist who's still alive, Dr. Dennis Charney from the Icahn School of Medicine. And he was talking about how some people suffer terrible tragedies and yet move on with their lives, and yet others fall apart. And so I raised my hand because I was publisher of a psychiatry journal then. And I told him about my parents, how they survived Hitler and losing so many people. And my mother saw her mother's head chopped off. Horrible stories. And not only did they survive, they flourished. My father was 97 when he died. My mom was 86. And he said they were born with the resilience gene, and so were you. And it's knowing that I have this resilience gene that in some ways I feel empowered. I feel that I can do what I want, say what I want, wear what I want. It's the sheer confidence that I learned from them, and I've applied it to my work. My husband, who was my furrier, I would go on sales calls wearing my red mink coat because I felt so empowered, and somehow that gives you agency, that gives you credibility. And I think it's the confidence, it's the energy, it's the curiosity, and it's the willingness to be persistent, to work hard and be persistent. So that's how I got where I am now.
and when we met, the first thing that you said to me was about this resilience gene. And we were in the middle of the casting, and I had known about the resilience gene. And look, she's getting it. I couldn't tell you my reference book.
Oh, the resilience.
It's Viktor Frankl,
Yes,
Man's Search for Meaning.
yes, 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 yes.
And he, in this book, he presents the exact same thing as you mentioned.
Right. It's incredible. And the older I get, the more I've lived, it's incredible how you can reinvent yourself. I wrote
Yes.
short stories about my parents years ago after they passed away. And I realized that most people, most older people, and I know I'm generalizing, but yesterday I went to a focus group that AARP put on for Senior Planet. I don't know if you know anything about it. So their new offices are at 30th Street. And most people, as they get older, they give up. They just give up. They don't care how they look. They don't care how they dress. They and it's this feeling of not wanting to settle. It's this feeling of wanting to enjoy every moment, try every new thing. And I think I got that as part of my resilience gene. I have to be careful sometimes that I don't do dangerous things like stay out at night. But my calendar is always jam-packed of things to do. I go to the opera, I go to Temple, I go to the theater, I go to Lincoln Center. And I wish older people could learn to enjoy themselves the way I am enjoying my life now.
We were talking in previous podcasts about the experience that we had while in Romania. When people retire, they basically waiting to die.
Correct. Correct. And I think that has to do with, well, one, it has to do with your parents and the way you were brought up. But I think a lot of it goes back to what I said before, ageism. I guess because I worked till I was 74, that I didn't really feel it. But now that I'm around older people, and I don't want to be judgmental, but the institutions, and I was saying it yesterday at the AARP meeting, a lot of these big associations, and I want to be careful, I'm not too political, but AARP, which has almost 40 million members, stereotypes older people. Not everybody has to be gray and flabby and hard of hearing and can't see. That's the stereotype they foster. And that's the stereotype why younger generations look at their grandma and grandpa as feeble, as not able to handle technology. Once I started modeling, I didn't have a staff. I was the chief operating officer. I was the CFO. I was the technology officer. You know where I learned all my skills? At Senior Planet. I learned Instagram. I learned ChatGPT. I learned how to use my iPhone. But most people don't look for resources. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe you can describe it to me because you talk
Yeah,
more.
I think it goes back to belief.
Yeah, I was gonna
If
say,
we
so giving up.
believe, yes, if we believe we can do it, and
Right,
if we believe that age is just a number,
right.
then that's exactly how we conduct our lives. But if we believe that that's it, I'm 70 and I'm old,
Right.
um, then, diseases appear and loss of hearing and vision and all of this stuff.
So when I first started the modeling, it was when I wanted to do something positive because my baby sister that I shared a crib with in the orphanage was gone too soon. And I started reading all these articles about senior models. I figured, why not? I'll try it. I was very lucky. I had a wonderful photographer who got me into Harper's Bazaar. And then I learned, because I'm an experienced professional, how scammy the business is because they take
Yeah.
advantage of younger people who don't have the experience or the knowledge or the confidence to speak up. And for a little over a year, I realized that what I wanted to do more than being a model to showcase somebody else's talent was be a model for what a senior could be like, be a role model. And so I've spoken, I've done webcasts, I've done articles, and hopefully it will encourage other people my age to, I don't know, take on a new hairdo or try a new outfit or put on their pearls, anything to feel alive again. And that's what it's all about, feeling alive again.
Yeah. That's why I asked you about the Three Tomatoes, if you knew the Three Tomatoes, because that's the publishing company that my mom is with. My mom is the youngest person in the group by a lot. And everybody who wrote a book has drastically changed their lives
Correct.
and have started a new career after retirement.
Correct. But they're the exception. You know, there are so many newsletters because every day close to 11,000 people turn 65 and older. They all talk about retirement in your 401k and about travel, which is fine. But I hearken back to the research that was done by Yale University, where they studied people longitudinally over 75 years to figure out what makes people happy as they age. What they found that there were three things that make people happy as they age. One, the ability to make their own decisions, meaning they have the mental capacity, they have the financial independence to make their own decisions. Two, a passion that gets them up in the morning. For me, it's the modeling, it's the museums, it's taking care of my husband, it's the activities I plan. And the third is community. Loneliness is a very big problem, a very big problem. And I love going to the synagogue so I can get dressed up. I love going to all the events. It's getting out there, it's talking to people, it's socializing, and it's wanting to get up in the morning and looking forward to something besides the grandchildren. Or I don't want to minimize what other people do, but that's not my life.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It works for my husband and
Definitely.
I, and we're happy.
Talking about stereotypes, have you encountered any blockages when you became a model?
Yes and no. So I joined a modeling school called Schuyler Modeling, and I had a modeling weekend. And I thought it was so interesting because there were 16 um, women. Two were 15 years old, so they had their mothers with them. And then there was me at 77. And everybody was like, wow, I inspired them. So to me, that was very fulfilling. And then I, it's just very, how can I say, interesting to see how younger generations are handling things. And it harkens back to my parents who had nothing. And to me, it's eye opening how little it takes to be happy. You don't need the fancy car. You don't need the fancy vacation. It takes so little to make a person happy. And I think companionship and having someone who loves you and cares for you and enjoying simple things, that's what I learned. In terms of the stigma, yeah, I had to fight a lot of battles of companies that want to take advantage of you. Um, they don't know how old I am, but right away you can tell a scam because they want money up front. And that's a no-no. There are certain things that you have to be fair warned against. And these are, by the way, these are other women doing it to younger people. These are not just men. These are other women doing these scams to younger models. So I think being older and wiser and a little bit New Yorky really helped me navigate that part of modeling.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that, being a designer, I get the other side of that where people think I'm also, it's not just for models, it's with other designers as well. And they think that I'm young and I'm pretty and I don't know anything.
Exactly.
And it's such a, that's why I'm trying to learn all these things and to see how I can be better for everybody around me. And I feel like high school does a really good job of managing those really horrible things that happen in the fashion industry.
Correct. I think because it's about beauty and it's about fashion, which people see as superficial. It's not like you're finding the cure for cancer, for Christ's sake. You're just dealing with superficial things. But that's more human nature. I mean, it's hard to change human nature. You just have to be aware of it and sort of play the game. But look, I was publisher of a medical journal, and I'm not a doctor, so people could say, "Wow, you had a big scam. You were a phony." No, because you it's all about being able to deal with difficult people. And I
Right.
think as you get older and wiser, you learn how to navigate narcissists, you learn how to navigate phony people, you learn how to navigate scammers. And it makes me feel bitter about myself that I'm able to juggle all those things at 78 years old.
And I think also what amazes me is that the modeling industry is so brutal and it's so mean, and all they do is just put you down. Like everything is about the way that you look and the way that you do this and the way that you wear the clothes, and you got a little fat roll here or you've got a little hair that sticks out there. That's why I never got into modeling, because I simply can't handle it. And I really respect that you are able to sort out the BS and put
Because
your foot down and say, I'm not staying here.
Yes, because you have to set boundaries, whether it's in a relationship or with a parent or with a friend, you have to set boundaries. I used to have bosses that would pluck my bra strap, that would ask if we braided our pubic hair, and this was in publishing. So years ago, I had to get my husband, now, well, my second husband, but to agree to let me work for somebody, McGraw Hill in 1982, I couldn't get a job without my husband's permission. At the end of the day, you have to realize one, the frailty of human nature, and two, you have to tell people, don't talk to me like that. Set boundaries. Don't talk to me like that.
I completely agree. It's easier said than done for a lot of women who are trying to make it,
Yes, but
who want something so bad.
yes.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, my advice would be take a deep breath and move on. Don't take it personally. Take a deep breath and move on.
I want to ask you, what was the most outrageous and funny thing that happened to you in modeling?
The most every. Oh, so I had one of these scam, I won't mention names. I had one of these scammy things where they asked for money and whatever. And it was a famous name. It was a famous modeling agency. And I wrote a scathing review on Google about this modeling agency. I happened to be at another modeling agency on a casting call. This guy from this famous modeling agency called me up and said, "Are you Elizabeth Katz? I would appreciate having discussing with you what you wrote about me on Google." And I said, "I have to be a couple of blocks from you." can I come over? That took balls. And he said, yes, come over. I came over and he said, what you wrote about me was inaccurate. And I said, no, it wasn't. I asked ChatGPT about you, and they told me that your firm is a little scammy and a little dicey. So here's what I wrote. Here's what ChatGPT said. And he said, you're right. Somebody stole my name and I'm dealing with the lawyers. But if you agree to take down your Google review, I will consider you for a future assignment. I said, okay, sounds good to me. So, what that taught me is I dealt with adversity in a very professional way. I did my research. I asked ChatGPT to back it up. I confronted him, not in a belligerent way, in a very professional way. He was a couple of blocks away, and he was surprised that I came over in person. And did I get an assignment from him? No, not yet, but he knows my photographer, and my photographer knows him, and I did him a favor. So it's using the skills that I used during work. And by the way, there was a very interesting book that I read when I first retired. It was called From Strength to Strength by Albert Brooks. And it talked about how when you work and you're successful, you learn a lot of skills and you learn a lot of expertise. And when you retire, you don't lose those skills. Use those skills for your next reinvention. So I use all the skills I've learned in my 40 years of professional life in my modeling. I keep lists, I check with ChatGPT, I meet people, I'm very professional because I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I'm eager to explore new things and to see what I can do. I'm stretching the limit, so to speak.
What advice would you give to someone who would think it's too late for me to do something else?
Well, what are you waiting for? Just to die? What do you have to lose? You know, put on a little lipstick, put on your pearls, get your hair done. I do this all the time with my neighbors. I live in a big building. I do this all the time with my husband. Now, get dressed. I think just getting out of your comfort zone, taking a walk. By the way, walking, the transcendent power of walking. I walk 5 to 6 miles a day, and I think that can cure everything. I would encourage people to find a friend and walk
That's what we do all the time, too.
all the time. And I think it's so wonderful how you and your mother are dealing with whatever adversity you had. And I used to ask my mother in Yiddish, because we only spoke Yiddish, how did you move on after you saw your mother's head chopped off and you saw your father hung and you were starving and everybody was murdered? How did you move on? And you know what she said? You put one foot in front of the other and you move forward.
There is no other way.
There is no other way. I'd like to do with a new pair of pants or whatever, but you just move forward.
Yeah.
We had a moment in the last podcast speaking about the past 2 months where my question is, do I have a choice? No? Okay, it is what it is then. We move forward.
Yes, you move forward and you always dress up and you always, as a salesperson, I learned early on, it's all in the numbers. The more people I contact, the more applications I put out there, the more casting calls I go to, the more I will reap. 95% of the success of life is just showing up. Just show up.
Yep.
And you never know where it will take you.
Exactly.
Like when you came to the casting and now we're here.
Because and in the modeling school, we have a private website. It's called School, SKOOL. And the models, much younger than me, are complaining, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I said, just go on a casting call, put on your clothes and just get out there and just keep moving. Just keep moving so you can be alive again.
And now that we're approaching the end, that is one question that I ask every guest. And
Even though you already answered it just
what is one activity in your life that makes you feel more alive?
Well, one, the walking, but how can I say, I'm a flower arrangement. If you saw my house and my terrace, I have flowers everywhere, which is wonderful, but they're all fake. They're all, wait, they're all fake. My terrace is full of fake flowers, every shelf. And this is my therapy.
Ah,
Every day and every nook of my husband doesn't mind. There's flowers because to me it's almost like reinventing myself. I do it in a small way with flowers. Colors, emotion, things are beautiful. And when I wake up in the morning, if you saw my terrace, it's flowers. So I think that may be a new career, my future, making fake flower arrangements. I don't know.
why not?
Why not?
Why not? Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It's such a pleasure to have you, have your wisdom and experience. And let's hope that people will be inspired.
We don't need to hope, they will be inspired.
And I welcome you anytime you want to come visit. I live in a wonderful area right near Lincoln Center, and I go there all the time. There's so many free activities. It's like I live on a cruise ship. Wherever I go, there's an activity to keep me busy.
Thank you for the
Thank
invitation.
you.
Thank you. Have a good
right.
day.
Our listeners, thank you for listening. For more conversations and more guests, please subscribe and follow us. We'll see you next week.